How does that look?
Yeah.
I don't like. You tell me.
I don't know.
Alright, so.
It's a video, so. 2.5 weeks I spent in Ireland feel like years of my life I can look back on fondly and wish to go back to. My perspective and feelings changed drastically throughout the trip. I made great friends, saw stunning landscapes, and experienced Irish culture as best I could. And I'll try to sum up the whole experience in 5 minutes. Immediately, it was a dream. We start with a trip to a market and a walking tour to learn about the troubles. This was probably the least eventful day we had. I was really jet lagged, so I went to bed early. Over the next couple days, I continued to get my bearings, recovering from the trip there, and getting to know both my classmates and the rich history of the city. Belfast was my least favorite of the 3 places we stayed at, but that's not because the city was bad or anything. I just wasn't comfortable around people yet, and I was adjusting to... Okay, Jesus. That damn bus. I can't just leave it out of this. It would be dishonest. Its impact was too big. I have to talk about it. We went on that bus, 17 innocent little college students. Stars in our eyes, ready for adventure. What came out were 17 soldiers with PTSD worse than the veterans returning from Vietnam. Immediate entry on the bus prompted a response from my friend Lucas. Why is it kind of hot as hell in here? This received chuckles. It was in fact warm, and people continued to lightheartedly joke about the predicament we shared for the next 15 minutes. Then the talk stopped. The heat did not. On the sides of the bus's interior were radiators lining the floor, hot to the touch. The AC was not working, or at least so our bus driver said. She wasn't exactly the most experienced, having trouble opening the luggage compartments, and at one point backing up in the middle of traffic. Not worrying at all. This bus ride took hours, days even. Everyone was sweating. I couldn't physically stay awake. At one point, I genuinely thought the radiators were pumping in exhaust, and I wasn't going to wake up one of these times. Genuinely. Of course, we did try to remedy all this, but unfortunately to no avail. Look, the reason the hot bus is so important to this story is just... this put me in a bad mood, man. It wasn't a good experience, this hot bus. I just got off of a day of travel. I mean, we all did. And I just... because of this, I wasn't down for exploring Belfast. You know, like, it closed me up. And it genuinely, I feel as though because of this experience, it took me longer to come out of my shell. Just because of this. In summation, Belfast was good, but it had its drawbacks, and most were due to my own inability to warm up to people quickly and adjust to new settings, only bolstered by the horrible, horrible hot bus. The next bus we took was not hot, thank God, and it was to Giant's Causeway. This place was just beautiful. Climbing across those rocks and being spattered with ocean water was so refreshing. I really don't have much to say. This was just a nice experience. Any troubles I had in Belfast disappeared in Galway. That means the hot bus, right? All of us hung out in the dorms the first or second night there, and everything just finally clicked for me. I felt like I was a part of the group fully, and I was excited to get to know people better. Having this comfort back at the dorms let me immerse myself in Irish culture further. Going out to the shopping center and seeing movies for the film flaw, it just gave me a solid schedule, and I could get comfortable with it. I think one moment encapsulates my experience in Galway pretty well. Just one morning, I had a screening for documentary shorts, and I got up early, grabbed the bus, and went to a lovely little cafe for breakfast. As I was sitting eating my scone, just enjoying the ambiance, a group sat down next to me, and I may have eavesdropped a little, alright? But they were all directors of the short films I was about to see. Like, that was so cool. I felt so connected to the town in that moment, and that feeling of connection just didn't leave for the rest of the trip. I started going out with friends more and talking to locals, volunteering. I got to speak to some directors and producers briefly, and they were actually like interested in me, which felt odd because I was so interested in them, you know? Also, I got to compliment the lead of Made in Dublin. It's not like it's a big deal or anything. Me and him are kind of tight, you know, whatever. There's nothing. Cliffs of Moher. I barely know her. Anyways, another gorgeous pit stop ended with me and a bunch of other people hiking 4 miles to a castle we saw in the distance. We did not make it, all right? It was so much farther than it looked. We were about 20 minutes late to the bus, even though we turned around early. And like we got an extra 10 minutes from Sharon, our guide, and we were still 10 minutes late. And all right, that being said, the hike was super fun, and I would do it all over again if I could. The Cliffs of Moher are just gorgeous, and the wind being at my face, hiking with friends, this was just amazing. Yo. In Dublin, we stayed at Trinity College. Getting here, I, for the first time, didn't feel like crap from the bus ride and was in fact very energized from the cliffs. Trinity was just beautiful, and it being so close to the shops, and it was just a great change from the bus ride required in Galway. Dublin was probably my favorite city we stayed at. All the tours we went on were super interesting or just fun, like we went on a ghost tour. I even weirdly ran into a friend from Towson, not from the study abroad, at St. Patrick's Cathedral, which was beautiful by the way, but just a weird experience, you know? Thought I should throw that in. Dublin was so great for me specifically, I think, because for the first time of the whole trip, I was fully relaxed. The film Flaw was great and super fun, but it was a responsibility, and having that behind us made Dublin feel like more of a vacation than Galway or Belfast. Here I just chilled and went to the shop with friends, seeing the city. We went and saw the Book of Kells one day, which was dope, and then the last day we saw Oppenheimer and Barbie in this huge theater, which I know isn't very Irish specific, but it still was fun and I felt connected. One last thing I did with a few others that actually happened before Barbenheimer, but I felt it capped off the trip well, was we went to Howth and we hiked along some cliffs and down to a seaside cave. It was a great last look at some of Ireland's beautiful scenery, and with no time constraints, it was extremely relaxing. Definitely one of my favorite parts of the whole trip. And that's the end, unfortunately. It was a fantastic experience, made even better by the people surrounding us. Sharon, our guide, and Professor Kramer were the best people to lead us we could have asked for. I'll remember this trip for my whole life, and I would do it all again in a heartbeat if I could, which I know I've said a lot, but it's true. It took me a while to warm up to my peers and Ireland's culture, but once I did, it was incredible, and I'm so glad I did this.